We are about to begin. We'd like to go over a quick tech overview before the event. Please be aware that everyone enters the event with their cameras off and microphones muted. Please keep them this way for broadwidth reasons. This session is also being recorded, so if you do not want to speak or show yourself on camera, you can communicate through the chat function. At the end of Kat's talk, we'll open up the meeting to discussion. Please direct all questions prior to this to the chat. If you wish to speak on camera during the discussion, please use the raise hand function and we will call on you. The recording of the talk will be the only thing posted on our YouTube channel, but we understand if you'd rather engage in discussion via chat. If you are having any technical difficulties, you can message Kate Haynes or Ryan Woodward privately in the chat function or email iwbc.archive@gmail.com. Now, please welcome Kat Williams, President and co-founder of the IWBC, and our speaker for the evening.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the 8th anniversary of Founders Day of the IWBC. It's really pretty amazing that it's been 8 years in some ways. In some ways, I can't believe all we've accomplished in that time. The first thing, though, that we have to do, and we've got the mission statement up here, and we put this up front we want you to see this and hear it and understand how this runs through every single thing we do and every single thing we're going to talk about tonight. At the IWBC, education is the cornerstone of our mission to protect, preserve, and promote all aspects of women's baseball, both on and off the field. We strive to inspire the next generation of players by helping them realize their dreams, not only of participating in the sport, but also of passing on all they will learn and achieve for generations to come. You notice education is the third word, and you'll also notice as we go through this evening, you're going to see that educational thread run through. Next slide, Ryan. So what is IWBC Founders Day? Well, most of you've been around us for a while. You've heard this story. On February 22nd, 2014, a group of women gathered at Jean Reed's house in Sunset Beach, California. And over pizza and beer, literally, we talked about a dream that we had all had independently and we talked about together, but we talked about the importance of having a museum and a hall of fame and an activity center. We talked about having a place that would preserve and protect the very long history of girls and women in all aspects of baseball internationally. The women in that room have each one of them, and I'm going to list them here: Maybelle Blair, Shirley Berkovich, Jean Reed, Donna Cohen, Mary Moore, Karen Kunkel, and by phone, Jane Moffett. And I was there too. The women in that room that day knew this was an important pursuit, and we all had the same dream. Founders Day has become a celebration where we all, until a few years ago, just got together, even sometimes virtually, and ate pizza and drank beer and took pictures and posted them on social media. But now it's a way for us to fill you in on what we're doing and invite you to join us and to celebrate what we've done, but help us to complete the goals that we have going forward. Go ahead, Ryan. So, a place of their own. This is, as you can see, education, preservation, participation. These things are at the core of every single IWBC program, event, and project we take on. These are the principles on which that group of women created the International Women's Baseball Center. These principles have guided us for 8 years. The slides show that the slideshow that we're going to show you tonight and talk about will highlight some of the ongoing and upcoming programs that we think you'll want to know about, hopefully be part of. And I think you'll also see how all of this comes together, how these threads, the thread of education, preservation, and participation run through everything we do. And it helps, I think it will help to understand why increasing participation in women and girls in baseball, whether it's directly connected to us or not, is also something that we want to highlight, which we will do in a little while. Go ahead, Ryan. Before we go any farther, and even though I've mentioned their names here, we've got to say thank you and mention Maybelle Blair and Shirley Berkovich. Chances are most of you have met them. You've probably talked to them yourself over the past year or so. Might have been in Boston, might have been in Pittsburgh, Rockford, Los Angeles. Lord knows it could have been anywhere. You might have even seen Maybelle Blair on the Today Show. Their vision, their example, and the generosity, the determination that they give to this project and to us specifically, it helps keep us all going. This idea of a place of their own, this idea of building a museum, this idea of preserving that history, that's their dream. Now, it's the dream of us, ours. It's our dream too, of course. But whether it is through their passion, the example they set, or some really not very subtle nudges, we work hard every day, in large part because of them. We work hard every day. We give back because they give back. At 95, Maybelle Blair still gives back. And so when we get tired, when we think we can't do another phone call or another meeting, they inspire us. And so on Founders Day, always, we want to thank them and tell them we love them. And while it's for all generations of girls and women in baseball that we do this, it is largely because of you. So thank you. Go ahead. The kind of dedication and determination that Blair and Shirley exhibit and that they model for the rest of us, every single board member, every single volunteer, every single person who steps up and works with us, they see that and they latch on to that and they make it their goal as well. And that is certainly true of our two newest board members. We have on the left is retired Judge Patrick Yarborough. He supervised the juvenile division for the 17th Judicial Circuit Court in Rockford, Illinois. He has been a volunteer and director for many organizations dedicated to the safety, welfare, and support of children. He is a diehard Chicago Cubs fan who has the framed Ernie Banks autograph certificate to prove it. Patrick is a lifetime member of the IWBC who has had the pleasure of playing softball at Bayer Stadium many times while attending school adjacent to the Peach Orchard. His passion for the Rockford Peaches has been demonstrated by his participation in numerous Rockford Peaches and IWBC events. Patrick has been a supporter of the IWBC from day one, and we welcome him and his passion to the board. Marlene Vogelsang has been involved with the IWBC and SABR Women's Women in Baseball Conference for the past 2 years and is currently the co-chair of the Lefty O'Doul San Francisco Bay Area chapter of the Society for American Baseball Research. Marlene has lived in the Bay Area most of her life and is a lifetime Oakland A's fan. SABR and IWBC are expanding her knowledge and appreciation for the history, stories, and the women and men involved in this great game. Both Patrick and Marlene have years of experience in research and serving their communities, and it is our honor to work with both of them. We have very quickly put both of them to work. Thank you all for joining us. Before we go any farther, though, with what IWBC is doing, and we've got this great team in place. And like I said before, we don't take credit for what you see on the screen here, but we sure are going to celebrate it. We are a place of education. We are a place where we are going to use the goals, but also the successes of every girl and every woman in baseball. Just take a look at this slide. Look at the amazing things that are happening in the world of women in baseball recently. Have you seen these headlines? You probably have. Do you see that timeline on the right? Look at this. Rachel Fulton, the Cubs. I am particularly fond of Rachel Fulton, by the way. She is a former student of mine. Now, that's not to take away from all these other women, but Kim Ng, of course, the first general manager, female general manager, Bianca Smith with the Red Sox, the July 2021 first all-female MLB broadcast crew, and on and on and on. These are amazing accomplishments, and we celebrate them. But one of the things that this does, these headlines and this lineup, this makes us even more determined to build a permanent home for all women in baseball. These women deserve a home too, and we're going to provide it in Rockford, Illinois. Go ahead, Ryan. And of course, as I said, education is at the heart of everything. And probably one of the things that we do right now that shows that the most is the SABR IWBC Women in Baseball Conference held every year. And this is one of the amazing panels that we had last year was from Perry Barber, our very own Perry Barber, moderated the panel on international umpiring. And I have to tell you, of all the feedback we got about last year's conference, that panel, and listening to those women from literally all over the world talk about what it means to them to be part of the game and talk about their struggles. This was an amazing panel. It was an amazing conference. And by the way, we're doing it again in September of this year. And we'll talk about that again in a minute. The other thing that we did was have a virtual race called A Mile in Her Spikes. And one of the reasons that was so, I mean, it was important. It was absolutely important, but it's connected to education in this way. It was a student-led event. An intern from Kent State, Mackenzie Westfall, who interns with Leslie Heathy, put this together. She particularly they particularly chose Tony Stone as the person they wanted to highlight. And so what she did was find educational materials and posted those throughout the push to get people to join in the race. And so people joined in the race, but then they also learned about Tony Stone. And these are just two of the larger examples of education and the efforts from last year to educate, but make it fun. And we were able to do that. Go ahead, Ryan. As I said, we're going to do this conference again. Hopefully, fingers crossed, we're going to do this again, but this time in person. We've tried twice to do this. We're very fortunate that Rockford University has hosted the conference the last 2 years, but unfortunately it's had to be virtual because of COVID. Our plan is this year, we will be in person. We are in the phase right now of the call for papers. The deadline for the call for paper to get your proposal in is June 27th. And the event itself, the conference itself will be September 16th through 18th. be on the lookout for more information about the conference. There will be themes and things that we're about to send out, but this is also, by the way, the 50th anniversary of Title IX. And so rest assured, there'll be some discussion of Title IX. Go ahead. At each of the conferences, we have taken that as an opportunity to highlight, to talk about and unveil each year a new design. For those of you that don't know, one of our plans is to do what we're calling an outdoor museum. And this outdoor museum will consist of 9 separate memorials or pylons. Each of them will be dedicated to a person or a group, an organization that has been instrumental in the history of girls and women in baseball. We have designed Raina Soklow as on, I believe, and she is the one who has designed these. The first one was dedicated to Penny Marshall. Penny Marshall, as you know, was the director of the movie A League of Their Own. The second one was dedicated to African-American women in the game of baseball. And last year, the one on the far right is dedicated to the international world of women's baseball. And these are the 3 next year. This year in September, we will unveil the 4th design. It is our goal to have these, at least 3 or 4 of these fully designed and in place within the next year or 2, but we're focused on raising money right now. But this is part of that education. It's part of the conference because we believe that it is so important to talk about that. On the center one for African-American women in baseball, 1883, we made sure, Leslie Heathey made sure that that date was front and center, because now when people look at that, they're going to say, what was 1883? That's how we're educated through these, and they're very, very important. Yeah, go ahead, Ryan. So even though even though we've had a lot of difficulty with COVID, stopping events and keeping us from being part of various tournaments or meeting in person, we're very fortunate that Kate Haynes and Ryan Woodward and other members of the board and committees have put together a podcast conversation series called Step Up to the Sport. They took advantage of the fact that, most of us can't, there for a while, we weren't traveling, we weren't going anywhere. So what we did was they launched this podcast, Step Up to the Sport. It has been extremely, extremely successful. And that is in large part because of the efforts of Kate Haynes and Ryan Woodward. We have had some amazing guests on there, from players and coaches and writers and directors, and it has been a lot of fun. And they keep plugging away at it, but that's another way that we push education. Go ahead. And of course, preservation. It's in large part about preservation. Preservation is another key, another one of these elements that's part of our overall goal. Whether it's preserving historic physical artifacts like uniforms and gloves, and yes, that 1947 Greyhound bus, or whether it's honoring significant figures in baseball history. One of our most important goals is to give a physical place to all of that history. That doesn't mean we're going to go out and gather as many balls and uniforms and gloves and things as we can and just stuff them into a room someplace. But girls and women deserve a home. Girls and women's baseball deserves a home. And yeah, there's going to be some of that there, but there will also be interactive, the virtual stories, the interviews, the ways in which you can sit on that Greyhound bus and take a virtual road trip with the Rockford Peaches. All of that is what we're going to do. That is how we are going to not only preserve those artifacts, but preserve the stories, preserve the passion that those women have had and continue to have for women's baseball. Go ahead. And of course, we are above all a place of preservation. One way that we're going to further that goal is, thankfully, and this is where I want to pause for a minute and thank the Rockford Park District, the City of Rockford, the City of Rockford Board of Aldermen, and a lot of other individuals in Rockford who fought to help us secure the property and the place of preservation. The history of Bayer Stadium and the athletes that played there, the Rockford Peaches, the people who ran track, the football, the high school football teams, all of that history is important. And the IWBC will make sure that we preserve all of that history. In October, the Rockford City Council approved a special use permit for the IWBC to open a museum and activity center. And what better place than right there at the corner of 15th and Seminary in South Rockford. That is where we will have a place of our own. And right across the street from that, we're going to have the first of its kind activity center. Go ahead. We would not have had an opportunity to be where we are, and I mean literally and figuratively, without the people in Rockford. That picture on the left there of me staring at one of my favorite people in the whole world, Rockford Mayor Tom McNamara. This was a press conference where the mayor came and showed his support to us. And his support has been there from day one. Down below, you can see this is the Little Peaches from Beth Moreland, who has a girls team, the Little Peaches. We've got sport makeup and sport apparel. And above, you have two IWBC board members, Rosemary Collins and Kathy Headley there, getting the big $25,000 check from Rockford Casino. The community is also a place of participation. We not only are participating, but the city of Rockford and the individuals are participating. This is the plan. This is the plan that the city council and the zoning board and others approved of. What you can see on the bottom left is what will be first in our phases in terms of building, and that will be our activity center. We're in the process now of getting designs for that. You see Bayer Field as it is currently, and that will remain that way. And then on the very north end, you will see where we are going to build the educational center and museum. At the very upper corner of that 1 acre where we're going to build that museum is the ticket booth, which is protected, historically protected. We believe it should also be on the National Registry of Historic Places. And we have made a commitment to the city of Rockford that we will work to make sure that ticket booth does indeed get put on the National Registry of Historic Places. This facility, all of this, especially first the activity center, but then the rest of it once it's built, will work in conjunction with the Boys and Girls Clubs, with and especially the Blackhawk Boys and Girls Clubs, which is right down the street, the Booker Washington Center, a lot of other community centers. We have reached out to a lot of folks in the community, and we have a lot of support for the educational workshops, the recreational workshops and things that we want to do. And we feel like it's important to give to that community first and foremost. And so that's one of the reasons we want to start with that activity center. Go ahead. And of course, as I said, I've already mentioned sport apparel, and we'll get back to that in a second. But and I apologize, it's my fault. I'm jumping around. Ryan's right on target. I'm the one that's bouncing around all over the place. One of the things that we do in connection, again, following through this idea of education and participation, one of the things that we always want to do is expand that reach, expand that to include all aspects of baseball. And when we say that, we don't just mean playing. We don't just mean umpiring or doing something connected, whether it's on the field or around the field. It's also art. It's writing, it's music, it's anything connected to baseball. And so one of the things that we started doing, and again, this was the brainchild of Leslie Heapfee, Sabre and the IWBC have started doing an art contest that is also connected to the conference. What you see here on the left, by the way, I happen to now own that wonderful piece of art. When it came in, I fell in love with it. I have looked at that painting so many times, and the fact that the young woman in the front is wearing a 42 and she has a long pigtail down her back, I just think is an amazing, amazing thing. So my wonderful spouse and two board members went behind my back and bought me that for Christmas this year. So that is sitting in my room right now, but that is one of the winners. And the one on the right is Bethany Moreland. These are just some examples of that art contest. You know, participation doesn't just mean participating in the game. Baseball is more than a game. It's about community and growth. And that's one of the things that this shows right here. Go ahead, Ryan. And sport apparel and sport makeup. Many of you have probably have encountered either sport makeup or the apparel. As you can tell, many of us are wearing shirts that they have sold at one time or another. We simply cannot thank Cheryl Hall and Christine Hayquist enough. Sport makeup was the brainchild of those two, and then sport apparel, and they are amazing volunteers. They are amazing for what they do for the IWBC, but also for what they do for women's baseball and for Rockford. And you can find their in person, you can purchase this stuff at Rockford's Crimson Ridge. And be sure to follow them on Instagram. They are constantly bringing out new things. We want to make sure that people understand this is all the profits for sport makeup and sport apparel comes to the IWBC. They do this out of love and passion, and they do it to build that museum. And we thank them from the bottom of our heart. Go ahead. So education, preservation, and participation. You can see how all of that sort of works itself together, how each is a critical element to the overall goal of building a place of their own. This will be a physical destination. It will be a place of something concrete where you can touch it. It's a place where the long history of girls and women in the game of baseball is supported. It's preserved, And people can feel like, especially young girls, they can feel like they're part of something bigger. And that's what it's about. Every girl that wants to play the game or umpire or coach or do anything else needs to have that opportunity. And that's one of the things that we are dedicated to doing. Yeah, preserving the past, but we use that history. We need to bring that history out of the shadows and use it and show girls, particularly girls, that they have a history, that they're part of something bigger. So this physical place will do that. We're not going to wait till that's built, mind you. We're doing it now. We go out and we take that message with us. But that's ultimately the bottom line. Go ahead. Now, these are just a few of the events coming up, ways that you can get involved, things that you probably don't want to miss. March 30th and 31st, Maybelle Blair, Shirley Berkovich, and I will be in Rockford, Illinois, where we are doing some events to celebrate Title IX. The next step up to the sport, we'll have Bianca Smith. And of course, July 1 and 2 will be a 3-day celebration of the 30th anniversary of the release of A League of Their Own. Yes, 30 years, it's amazing. Of course, a 6th annual Women in Baseball Week, July 24th through 30th. And this event, this week, continues to grow internationally. It's just amazing. And of course, the art contest, the youth art contest, and then the 4th annual Women in Baseball Conference, September 16th through 18th. These are just a few of the things that we have going right now. And so please keep an eye out for all of those. Go ahead. So what can you do? Well, attend those events, bring a friend or two, share our content on social media, recruit new members, join a committee. You know, one of the things that is really important for to me when I talk about the IWBC, we are all volunteers. Every single one of us is a volunteer. No one gets paid for being on this board. No one gets paid for being on a committee. What we have accomplished in 8 years, we have done because of dedicated, determined, inspirational people. And we need more of those. And so, you know, share your news with us, contact us, tell us what's going on. If you have ideas, we are open to that. Be part of it. And that is one of the things that's so important about the IWBC. This is, there are more than one person on this Zoom right now that refers to this group as their baseball family. And there's a reason for that. And so be part of that with us, and you know, help us to create a place of their own. Go ahead. And I just want to go over and thank a few people. My name's Kat Williams. I'm the president and one of the founders of the IWBC. Shirley Berkovich, of course, you know, she's also our treasurer. Perry Barber, you also know Perry, and she's our secretary. Rosemary Collins, retired judge from Rockford, is a board member. Dr. Kathy Headley, who is a professor at Rockford University, is also a board member. Many of you know Dr. Leslie Heathey, also a board member, vice president of SABRE, and you know, the list of accolades could go on and on. Marlene Vogelsang, who you have met already, and Ryan Woodward, who is most of the time the MVP. He is largely, he and Kate are largely responsible for putting this event together, by the way. And then, of course, Patrick Yarborough, who you also met earlier when I introduced him. You know, there are others. Go ahead, Ryan. There are so many other people that we have to thank. As I said, Sorry, Mayor. Mayor Tom McNamara and the city of Rockford, we'd still be floundering if not for their support. Kate Haynes, who is our archivist, and also someone who has from the beginning worked hard, from lugging boxes of shirts to sell at tournaments, everything in between. And so Kate is, like Ryan, an MVP. Cheryl Hall and Christine Hayquist from Sport Makeup. Sherry Harlan, who is our attorney in Rockford and also has become part of the IWBC family, and we thank her for that. Jim and Pam Keeling are volunteers and who have helped the IWBC and me personally to understand things we need to do and how to move forward. And we are so grateful to them. Dr. Greta Rensenbrink, who does the books for us. The Rockford Park District, as I said, we are Jay Sandine and his group. We love them, and they are big supporters of us. Rockford University, Dr. Eric Fulkemer is the president there, and the university is 100% behind us. That's where we have an office now, thanks to them. And if I go to Dr. Fulkemer and I say, hey, I have an idea, he says, okay. And so that's the kind of support. There are lots and lots of other people, and I apologize to folks that I might have missed, but I want to say thank you to those folks particularly. Go ahead. And then lastly, just if you want to reach out to us, like everyone else, we're on just about every social media platform that exists. So please do follow us, reach out to us, share your baseball stories with us, and please, by all means, reach out and give us ideas. Help us. We love it. We want to hear from you.